loves. Good morning. Happy Monday morning. I hope you all are doing great as we are. And today I am so excited to bring this story to you in Once Upon a True Story, where we always discuss amazing people throughout history, science, math, art, who is young ones just like us with big hearts, dream to become something really extra special one day and live their dreams, and they became true. So today we are going to read the most amazing story called Funny Bones, Posada and His Day of the Dead, Calaveras. And Calaveras is skull in Spanish. So today we're going to talk about Jose Guadalupe Posada, who is a Mexican artist who made these amazing creations through his art of skeleton figures. And Miss Mel has some hanging up today, a celebration of the Day of the Dead. Now, the Day of the Dead is Dia de Muertos, and that's the Day of the Dead. And it's a Mexican holiday that celebrates the lives of all the people we love who have passed on, all our ancestors who have passed on. And it's celebrated across Latin America, and it's usually celebrated from November 1st through the 2nd. And Posada skeleton drawings have become linked with the Mexican Day of the Dead, the Dia de Muertos. And Funny Bones tells the true story of how the calaveras, the skulls, amazing skulls, this belt has tons of them because I absolutely love them. Because when we celebrate life and joy, and in Dia de Muertos, the Day of the Dead, it is a celebration of those who have passed on, but it's also a celebration of life and joy of those who have passed on. So we never forget them, my loves, that we honor them every day, and especially those days. So let's dive into our story today. And Miss Mel, after our story, tune in, because after our story today, I have another story for you within this story time that's going to give you a little more information about Dia de Muertos, the Day of the Dead. So Funny Bones, Posada and His Day of the Dead, Calaveras. Now Calaveras in Spanish is skull. So as you see here, we see colorful skulls because this is one of the ways the celebration of the Day of the Dead continues. We create beautiful pictures of skulls so they're not as frightening, that we become comfortable with them, and they remind us of all our ancestors. By Duncan, written and illustrated by Duncan Tonatiuh. Oh, look at this. And here's an altaris, an altar of the Day of the Dead by Duncan Tonatiuh. Isn't that beautiful? Because in this celebration, all these things are brought to an altar or the cemetery to honor those who have passed on with flowers, the marigolds, a traditional flower of the Day of the Dead, and the skulls, and food. So we're going to learn all about that today. It's so much fun. Skeletons riding bicycles, skeletons wearing hats, skeletons dancing and strumming on guitars. We call these festive bony figures calaveras. Can you say that with me? In Spanish, it's called calavera. What skull, or calaveras skulls. So Miss Mel, we made these flashcards with the color, the orange color of the marigolds that are the celebratory flower of the Day of the Dead. So this is the orange color of those. Calavere. Can you say that with me? Calavere, skull. A lot of things that are associated with skulls and with El Dia de Muertos, the Day of the Dead. And this is another one. Day of the Dead. Dia de Muertos, Day of the Dead. And that is a traditional holiday. As we discussed, we celebrate those who have passed on, and we honor them with joy, and we have a celebration of life. For example, there are calavera drawings, candy calaveras, calavera poems, and calavera toys. The skeleton figures are not scary. No, they're not scary at all. In fact, they look as if they're having fun, like this skeleton riding a bike, or these skeletons dancing, or like we said, strumming a guitar. They are the creation of the Mexican artist Jose Guadalupe Posada, and this is his story. Let's dive into Once Upon a True Story. In 1852, in a small house in the Mexican city of Agua Calientes, Jose Guadalupe Posada was born. Lupe, as everyone called him, was the son of a baker and 6 of 8 children. There he is at home. Lupe's older brother, Celiro, became a teacher. He taught Lupe how to read and write. And Lupe loved to copy the drawings. He was so inspired as an artist. And he saw prints in books at school. Celiro noticed how well Lupe drew and helped him enroll at the local art academy. Now, when Lupe was 18 years old, he began to work at Don Trinidad Padora's print shop. There he discovered his lifelong passion for printing. Now, he learned a special art called lithography. It's a way to print. And you know what? You can get this book, Funny Bones, through Delaware County Libraries, through curbside pickup, my loves. And when you get this book, you get to read the instructions step by step of how Jose did the lithography, the printmaking. Is that cool or what? Now, after work, Lupe, Don Trinidad, and other artisans would gather at the shop. They were happy with the job that people in the government were doing. Don Trinidad invited Lupe to make some drawings for a small newspaper he was involved with. It was called El Jicote. El Jicote. And Miss Mel's going to show you that word. El Jicote. And that means the bumblebee in Spanish. Can we say that together? Let's try. Ready? El Jicote. El Jicote. Now, Lupe drew drawings, many drawings for this paper. And this was long before he drew Calaveras. And see, this is El Jicote. This is the paper he drew. And he drew many of the skeleton drawings. Now, Lupe lived in Leon for many years. He opened his own print shop, and everyone began to call him Don Lupe as a sign of respect. And he married Maria de Jesus Vela. And eventually they had a son, and they named him Juan Sabino. In addition to his printing work, Don Lupe began to create illustrations for books and pamphlets. He also taught lithography at a local school. So he was so inspired as an artist. Wasn't that wonderful? He was able to share his art with other children and people who wanted to learn. And he taught lithography at a local school, and he became successful and well known in the region. But in 1888, a terrible flood destroyed a large part of the city. Oh no, including Don Lupe's shop. Oh no. But that did not stop Don Lupe. Don Lupe, his wife, and their son moved to Mexico City, where he spread many of his calaveras there, the capital of the country. Don Lupe worked as an illustrator and a designer in several print shops. Eventually, he was able to open his own print shop near the Zocalo, the main square. And Zocalo, in Spanish, is city's main square, or the public square where a lot of people gathered. Can we say that word together? Zocalo. One of the men Don Lupe worked with was Antonio Vargas. He published intriguing stories on large sheets of bright paper called broadsides. The tales were about amazing ranges of topics, including scary creatures, fires, miracles, everything. Don Lupe illustrated many of these tales for many people, and he brought them to life. They were fascinated by Don Lupe's drawings. It's amazing through drawings how we can tell a story without even writing a word. Artists can tell stories with what they create. Don Lupe and Don Antonio worked together for many years, over 20 years. And they were always busy, especially during November 1st to the 2nd, during the Dia de Muertos celebrations. And do you remember what we said? Can we say that together, my loves? The Dia de Muertos, Day of the Dead celebrations, where they brought a lot of different skulls. And everyone celebrates with all skulls in different colors and patterns and shapes. And as you can see, Miss Mel has a big skull. You ready to see this one? Oh, look at that one. And it's not frightening because you know what? It's in beautiful colors and it's adorned with beautiful different shapes and different patterns and all in celebration of life and joy. And on these days, the city was full of vendors who sold. Now, here's traditional things they sold at the Day of the Dead celebrations, the Dia de Muertos celebrations. Pan de muerto. And that's a new word for us today. Pan de muerto, bread. And that's bread of the dead. And it's a wonderful bread. It's a very tasty bread, but it's a traditional bread shared at the Day of the Dead celebration. And Miss Mel, remember Miss Mel said we were doing to do the cards in orange, like the celebratory flower of the Day of the Dead. And these are very bright orange marigolds. And the marigolds have large heads as big as my fist. And they're beautiful. And they share those as well. And the marigold flowers, a word, how we say that in Spanish. How do we say that? Sampasushil. Sampasushil. Marigold flowers. And afalinques, the sugar skulls. Afalinques. And one more. We're doing it. We're doing a great job today. Papel picado, paper cutouts. Miss Mel has a few paper cutouts too, celebrating the Day of the Dead. And these are called papel picado, paper cutouts. Papel picado. And many of these wonderful items went into celebration of the Day of the Dead, Dia de Muertos. And people bought these and other items to decorate the offerings. So when people went to make offerings to their loved ones at the cemetery, or they brought flowers, or they brought different food, or they brought all the special things that their loved ones had loved in the past that they wanted to share with them, and then they shared it together. And these offerings, the word in Spanish, offering is ofrendas. Can you say that together with me? Ofrendas. Ofrendas they made for their loved ones who had passed on. Oh, wait a minute. And do you see the bread? And do you see the bread? How it was decorated with bread-like bones. So that is another way they would decorate all the wonderful rolls, the sweet rolls, the pan de muerto, the bread of the dead. Oh my goodness. And for the holiday, Duncan Tonatiuh and other editors published literary calaveras. They were short rhyming poems that featured a skeleton and made jokes about him or her. Now, people found the poems very funny. Here's one of the poems, Calavera Love. It was a warm afternoon in the middle of May. Mr. Bones grabbed his hat and went walking that day. When he noticed a beauty on the opposite street, he ran towards her and kneeled at her feet. You are perfect, a girl I've seen in my life. Please marry me. Please be my wife. I am sorry, senor, but that cannot be. You're handsome and all, but too skinny for me. What? The Calavera Love. And that's another way. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Hello, Riley. Hello, my love. So good to hear you're watching. Oh, love you so much, sweetheart. That's awesome. Glad you enjoyed our story today. Don Lupe had a lot of work to do. He was busy all the time. He began using another printing technique. And do you remember the other printing technique we talked about today? Lithography. And this printing technique that was quicker than lithography or engraving, it was called relief etching. Now, when you get this book at our library, there's all different kinds. It runs you step by step with how to do relief etching, how Jose Guadalupe Posada did relief etching. Isn't that beautiful? It's so cool. It's such a neat process. And Don Lupe made thousands of drawings over his ears and skeletons. And you remember how we said skull in Spanish? Calavera, or skulls, calaveras. And thousands of drawings over the years, and only 100 or so of the calaveras. And he had to draw the image in reverse, the opposite way he wanted the finished image to be. The inspiration behind many of Don Lupe's calaveras is clear, but for others is not. We can try to interpret what they mean, just like any artist. When they put something, when they show us something, we make what we want out of what we've seen. And a lot of that is really cool because art can bring about so many things for us, so many feelings, so many emotions. and it can make us feel certain ways, or it can remind us of a certain time or certain someone. Oh, now, during Dia de los Muertos, Don Lupe surely watched people go into the cemetery. They weeded and they repainted the gravestones of their loved ones. They brought food and told stories about them. Sometimes they hired musicians to play their loved ones' favorite songs. There's skeletons he drew dancing and partying the day away, celebrating life. Now, this, Don Lupe drew calaveras of famous men, but he also drew calaveras of very wonderful people around him every day. On the streets, people who work at print shops, he even drew a calavera of a friend, Don Tonatiuh. Was Don Lupe saying calaveras are all around us, that we are all calaveras, whether we are rich or poor, famous or not. We all look the same inside. Now, Don Lupe passed away on January 20th of 1913, and many people were familiar with his drawings, but very few people knew the artists who created them. And today you learned about the artists who created them, my loves. Today, Jose Guadalupe Posada is not called Don Lupe anymore. He is simply called Posada, which is the way he signed his work. His art is celebrated all over Mexico. And in the United States and all around the world, he lived his dream. And you even see people dressed like catinas and parade on the street during El Dia de Muertos, the Day of the Dead. Because it is a special day that is always somewhere an altar with ofrendas. Remember we talked about the altar, my loves, where all families join and they put offerings of food and flowers to the people in their lives who they love so much, who passed on in celebration of their lives. What would Posadas calaveras look like nowadays? What do you think they would look like? Would they look like this? Oh, look at that skeleton jamming out. What? He's rocking that guitar. Can you rock that guitar? Let me see it. Can you jam on the drums? What? Can you do a handstand? What? Can you roller skate, calaveras? Oh, you're scooting. My favorite. Are you reading a book today, my little calaveras? Oh, my goodness. Now, my loves, if you get this out of our libraries, you can see all the back, also in the back of this book, the author's note of what he wrote and what inspired him, and some other wonderful, inspirational and glossary behind here. Many of the words we talked about today are in the back of this book too, in Spanish and English, telling you what the meaning of them, what is the meaning behind them, and why it's important for the Day of the Dead celebration. Now, Miss Mel has another amazing surprise for you today. Now remember, in our links today, we have 2 links today we put in our amazing Once Upon a True Story Time. The first link is a link all about 24 activities you can do all about the Day of the Dead celebration. And you can learn about it as well, my loves. The second link in there today is from National Geographic Kids. So you click on that. It takes you right to National Geographic's Kids page that shows you all amazing things. A very kid-friendly link that shows you all amazing things about Dia de los Muertos, the Day of the Dead, the Dia de Muertos, the Day of the Dead. So we're going to do a special surprise book for you today. And this tells you a little more about Dia de Muertos, Dia de los Muertos, the Day of the Dead. And this is the celebration of the World Series. And it's by Hannah Elliott and illustrated by George Gutierrez. Aren't they colorful and beautiful? I tell you, the illustrations make me feel the colors that are celebrated for the joy of life and celebrating those who have passed on in their lives in the Day of the Dead. Because the colors of the Day of the Dead are very boisterous and wonderful and vibrant. Now, at the end of October every year, a special holiday begins. It's Dia de Muertos, the Day of the Dead. Now, Dia de los Muertos is an ancient tradition celebrated in Mexico and places around the world. During this holiday, people take time to remember and celebrate family and friends who have passed away. Although it's called Day of the Dead, our celebrations last several days. What? Such cool illustrations in this book. I love this book as well. With delicious foods, brightly colored decorations, and festive parties, we honor the lives of the people we miss, including those who left us many years ago. But before Dia de los Muertos begins, we must prepare. Now remember, in our story today, we talked about the special bread that's made on Dia de los Muertos, which is pan de muerto, which is the bread of the dead. We also make atole, a hot drink of masa, water, cinnamon, sugar, and vanilla. Atole, a hot drink. It almost sounds like a delicious cocoa. Now we gather flowers, especially, does everyone remember this world? These are the marigold flowers. Remember Miss Mel said they're big as my fist and they're beautiful. And these are the traditional celebratory flowers of the Day of the Dead. These are also called Flor de Muertos, or the flowers of the dead. They're called Cempasúchil. In our loves, we are set up altars, or altares. We decorate them with offerings, otherwise known as ofrendas. Like candles and flowers, the light of the candles and the smell of the flowers help guide the spirits back to us. On the altar, we also place items that were important to our loved ones. We gather books, musical instruments. We offer all the things our loved ones love the most, and that every time we use in our lives, we remember them. Now we surround ourselves with skeletons. You see all the skeletons again? Miss Mel surrounded us. Miss Mel's going to bring back the big skeleton. What? I call him Momo. He's my amazing Momo. Now we make these skeletons out of papier-mâché and teeny tiny skeletons out of clay. We even paint them and dress them all up. We pose the skeletons doing silly things like playing the guitar or dancing or even taking a bath. What? These skeletons, Miss Mel has yoga skeletons too. They're pretty cool. Along with skeletons, we decorate our bakeries, our schools, our cemeteries, and other places in our communities. Beautiful cut paper designs called papel picado, and with skulls or calaveras. These skulls underneath are called calaveras. Many of these skulls are made out of sugar. What? They're embellished with paintings and drawings like our skulls today of vibrant colors. And we do all this to celebrate the beauty of life and passing away rather than mourn it. After a few days, many of us visit the cemetery and the last of the celebrations. We clean our loved ones' tombstones and we play music and we tell stories. It is a very festive and joyful time. When Dia de los Muertos is over, we put away the skeletons and the skulls and the altars. This is my favorite part, but the special holiday reminds us to enjoy life all year round. We must take every moment, enjoy every moment, my loves, every single day. And it reminds us to honor our loved ones, those who have passed on, who we love so much, and we remember them in our hearts. And this way, the ones we love who have passed on stay in our hearts forever and always. We never forget them, my loves. They're always with us. So today, my loves, I thank you for joining us and celebrating Jose Guadalupe Posada in his funny bones, Posada and his funny bones, the Day of the Dead Calaveras. And remember, we say Calaveras, the skull, and Dia de Muertos, the Day of the Dead. Oh my goodness, we had so much fun with both of these books today. And thank you for joining us today, my loves. And I hope if you have any questions about Dia de Muertos, please put those questions in our comments today. Or if you celebrate Dia de Muertos, we want to know what your favorite part of the celebration is. So please feel free to put those in our comments today, my loves. Okay? And remember our links. Miss Mel has 2 links up there. The first link is the 24 amazing activities for the Day of the Dead. You can learn more about it and do activities and maybe make some skulls of your very own, which are so cool. And the second link today is the National Geographic Kids. It's a very kid-friendly link, and it tells you more about the Day of the Dead and some of the different terms we talked about today. Okay, my loves. Adios. Have a wonderful day, my loves. And we'll see you tomorrow. Remember, tomorrow, Wednesday, we celebrate our Halloween story times. So Miss Mel's going to be dressed up, Christina Bonnie's going to be dressed up, and Carl the spider will be joining us. So we want to see you dressed up too. All right, my loves, have a great day. We can't wait to see your costumes. Have a wonderful day. We'll see you tomorrow.